Okay, so shall we go back into the text?
Yeah.
Yes.
We have covered the we are studying, we are unfolding the Tattva Bodha. We went through the physical body, the subtle body, the inner instruments. The inner instruments is the mind, which is its functions. The mind has 4 functions. It integrates the sense impressions, the contact with the field. It comes through the sense instruments, which belongs to the physical body, and then it comes through the sense organs, which belongs to the subtle body. Yeah? And this mind integrates this sense perception in one single experience. And then it questions, it emotes, it questions it emotes, and then it submits this to the intellect to decide. So the inner instruments are the mind, the intellect, and the ego. And then we would move into the most subtle of the 3 bodies, the most difficult to be understood, the most difficult to be analyzed, which is the causal body. Why the causal body is so difficult? Because the causal body is it's something that cannot be understood, really, cannot be objectified, cannot be understood, defined, and so on, because it's extremely subtle. We say that it's the seed body. So it's the body that causes the subtle and the physical body. So we have certain knowledge, certain understanding of the causal body by inference, by understand its effects, but we don't have any means to objectify and perceive and know clearly and directly through our sense organs, through our intellect. By the intellect, which is a function in the subtle body, we cannot objectify and perceive and know directly the causal body. So what is the causal body? When we were beginning this verse before, we are beginning to say, what is the physical body? And then we would define I'm sorry guys, I'm a little bit off today. We would define the physical body, say it's composed by such and such, the 5 physical elements, and then the 3 energies and so on. And then it's a byproduct of our previous karmas, it's our merits, good karma. So we would objectively define the physical body and the subtle body, because the subtle body and the physical body, they can be objectified by us. We know our mind, we know our emotions, we know our feelings, we know our memories, we know our intuitions, we know our notions, our intellectual convictions. We know all of that. We can see it, we can perceive it. We don't perceive through the sense organs, but we perceive through our mind, our intellect. The intellect can perceive all of that. So, but we cannot perceive the causal body. Therefore, what can we say about the causal body? We can say that it cannot be defined. It's indefinable. It is intellectually impossible to really grasp and understanding. It is eternal, meaning to say it's beginningless. It has always existed as the seed potential cause of the whole universe. The whole universe comes from its macrocosmic causal body of the universe. So it's the seed. So we can never really see the universe in its seed the same way we cannot see a huge tree in a very, very small seed. But we know very well that seed has the potential, when conditions are favorable, the weather condition, and there is water, the soil is proper, and so on, that seed may sprout in a certain time with the moon in a certain condition and so on. It sprouts and then it becomes a plant, and this plant in time becomes a 500,000 years old huge tree. So when we look into the tree, we see like, wow, I can't believe that it came out of that very, very, very tiny seed. So the seed of the tree is compared to the seed of the universe, and the universe has its seeds in what we call the causal body. And so it's the case with the human jiva. The jiva, having three bodies, it has also the causal body, which is considered, which is said to be a kind of a seed, a kind of something that exists only as potential, exists as possibilities, okay, as tendencies, okay. So that is what we can say. It's beginningless ignorance. Why it's beginningless ignorance? Because the causal body, it's not self-conscious, okay? It does not shine with consciousness. The causal body is like it has the potential for self-consciousness, but it is not knowing. It's the eternal ignorance. Another reason that we call the causal body ignorance, beginningless ignorance, is because it makes the impossible possible. The causal body is also synonymous of Maya. Maya is the macrocosm, body of the universe, and it is not knowing in reference to the jiva, but it's also ignorance because it makes that which is one without a second, that which is whole, full, and complete. It's one without a second, one without names and different parts. It's a partless whole, the consciousness existence, of the self. It makes it appear shattered in a pluralistic, diversity of parts, that we call names and forms and colors of the universe. So it makes that which is one without a second appear as an infinite numbers of parts. So therefore, it's called the beginningless ignorance. Ramji likes to call this principle called Maya, or the causal body, as the beautiful, intelligent ignorance. Okay, it's beautiful because it's fascinating and it's very attractive. It captivates all human beings because we get so fascinated by the way this universe, is designed and colored and attractive. So we attract to this universe. It's beautiful, and it is very, very intelligent because it's constructed by this pure knowledge, pure intelligence. And when we really begin developing knowledge, scientific knowledge about this phenomenon called the universe, we become like, wow, it's made out of real intelligence. So in one way we call it ignorance. Ignorance because it produced duality out of reality, which is non-duality. We have reality as non-duality, and then it presents reality as duality. And this fundamental duality is this split. Consciousness appearing as the subject and the object, as the jivas, the sentients, the living beings experiencing their environment. So it makes that which is non-dual to appear as duality. Therefore, we call it ignorance. It's the fundamental, primordial ignorance. But at the same time, it produces this intelligently designed universe that we attribute to sattva, the sattva quality, the sattva guna. We call the mind of God. It contains the intelligence of the entire universe and all previous universe. Everything that was ever experienced and known is all contained in this seed, the seed of the universe, the macrocosm body. of the universe, Maya. So this Maya, it's referred to as ignorance, but it's also referred as Ishvara, the all-knowing, pure knowledge. So, and then it has another phenomenon associated with this Maya, which is called a vidya. So this Maya, this causal body, it causes the mind of the individual jivas to be absolutely unaware of the true nature of reality. So the jivas, they come into existence and they are totally extroverted and totally ignorant in reference to who and what they are. And they follow this beginningless ignorance, and they go about running to try to resolve the sense of limitation and pain and suffering and anxiety and fears, trying to resolve that by gaining certain experience, that could provide security and enjoyments and pleasures and so on. So these are all aspects of the causal body. It's a beginningless ignorance. It comes from not knowing, and it's free of forms and divisions. So it's the causal body has no names, parts yet, because everything is there, but only as potential. So there is nothing really manifest. It's free of forms and divisions. It is the cause of the subtle body. It's the cause of the gross body. And it's the cause of avidya. Avidya is the ignorance of one's real nature, of the jiva's nature. Okay, this ignorance in reference to the jiva's own true nature is called avidya. So that is the definition in the Tattva Bodha of the causal body. So as we have said, it is the seed body. It's that which exists and does not exist. It's that which exists and does not exist, or in other words, that which exists as potential. It is indefinable and it's not logically comprehensible. So the most common question that we get from everybody is like, why the manifestation? Why the creation? Where it comes from? When the creation began? Why Maya? Why, why the self empowers Maya and then compels Maya to create? So all of these questions, they don't have answers. It's not comprehensible. Okay? So therefore, it's useless that we ask those questions. Why? Why Ishvara? Why Maya? Why the universe? Why the jivas? Okay? We don't have answers for those questions, but we can understand that the human beings living here, they experience suffering. And we understand that suffering is due to a misapprehension of the laws governing the experience of every creature in this universe. And by knowledge, we can take care of that so that one's life can be free from all those negative emotions, feelings, and anxieties, and so on. It's free of forms, names, and divisions. It's the undifferentiated, beginningless ignorance. It's undifferentiated, beginningless ignorance. So before there is the manifest comes, emerges, before the Brahman awakens, as using this analogy of the day and the night of Brahman, before Brahman awakens, there is only an indifferentiated state. Okay, this state is free of any parts. It's free of any divisions. Okay, it is without beginning. It endlessly projects the manifest universe, physical universe. Okay? It's the undifferentiated, beginningless ignorance. So we know from our experience of deep sleep that when we go into this state of deep sleep. So we go into what we call Ananda Maya Kosha, which is our causal body, our subtle body. Somehow it resolves itself, or it shrinks itself into one's causal body. And we have this incredible experience of lack of limitation. There is nothing but only this very subtle vritti, this subtle I that experience oneness or non-duality, lack of parties. There are no objects of experience. There is nothing, no vritti, no energy, no feeling, no emotion, no subtle or physical objects appearing in the scope of my conscious existence. So this state is very, very pleasant, very rejuvenating, okay? And it's a good indication of our very, very nature as consciousness, okay? The only thing is this state is governed by not knowing, total ignorance, okay? So we are fully ignorant. We go into deep sleep state. There is nothing but this undifferentiated ocean of tamas, okay? There is nothing really reflect on the screen of consciousness. It's beginningless ignorance. But this ignorance has the power to project the universe. So in the macrocosmic level, this ignorance, Maya, has the power to project the universe and manifest it physically. So, but looking at the jiva level, so this mental condition called the Ananda Maya Kosha, the deep sleep state, when our mind is it's unfolded back in its causal body. In that state, nothing exists. There is nothing there. There is a certain fullness, oneness, non-duality, of existence. And we know that there is a very pleasant experience there, because before we go to bed, we all know that there is something great waiting for me, and I want to go there, and I love it. And guess what? We don't really wish to go somewhere or to have a certain experience, unless I know that there is great joy. So, and to enjoy something, it means that there is a certain experience there. Okay, by inference, we know that the deep sleep, this ignorance, and this undifferentiated state of nothing, okay, there is just no parts, no objects, no sensations, no feeling, no projections, no image. Yeah? There is just the screen of consciousness, and there is this vehicle, this vritti called the deep sleeper, the prana, jiva. So we know that in that state there is great joy. So therefore, we know that there is an experience of joy. Otherwise, we would not want to go back to it again and again. Okay, so it is this beginningless ignorance, which is undifferentiated, it's non-dual, and endlessly projects and manifests the physical universe. When we come out of this deep sleep, some of our vasanas, they begin somehow vibrating, so to speak, and then they may begin projecting what we call the dream state. So, and then our mind is awakening, and then they start projecting our subject reality. We start having what we call dream. We experience our dream world. We have the content of our mind, our vasanas, our mental emotional impressions. They start project themselves as the dream world. So this state of total not knowing, total ignorance, it has the potential to endless projects the states of dream, as well the states of the awaker, because the awaker is an experience of the individual jiva, experience the projection of Maya Ishvara, but also its own projections, because it's vasanas. are the one going to interpret this manifestation caused by my Ishwara. Okay? So we can see this causal body operate in the macrocosmic level as well in the microcosmic level. So what is this beginningless ignorance? The beginningless ignorance, we say, is that it's this duality as reality, no? And this notion that every individual has, that I have to gain things so that I can be safe and secure and complete and full and satisfied. No? This is the beginningless ignorance, which is the cause of every one of our lives. So we are born out of this ignorance. No? And fortunately, this ignorance, although beginningless, it can be ended, as we have understood already. It can be ended by the means of self-knowledge. So this causal body is the cause of the subtle body. It's the cause of the gross body. And it is the perpetuation of the fundamental ignorance of one's true nature. This ignorance of one's true nature, it gets reinforced by every day, every one of our actions, every time that we act upon some of our ignorance-based vasanas, okay? We are perpetuating this ignorance. So the whole world is made of creatures and beings and human beings that continue feeding and perpetuating this beginningless ignorance. We feed this ignorance by constantly acting upon those vasanas that they sleep eternally, beginningless, they reside eternally in the causal body, the macrocosmic causal body and the microcosmic causal body of the jiva. So the gross body and the perpetuation of this ignorance called avidya. So this ignorance called avidya is also the cause of the entire universe. This is quite a concept. The scriptures say that the universe is only projected, comes into existence due to this avidya, these karmas, these desires, all these desires and aversions that we produce as human jivas is the very cause of the universe. So this is a very, very radical concept. Why? Because without us reinforcing those vasanas, acting upon those vasanas, Ishvara cannot provide us with the field of action. Ishvara provides us with the field which is custom designed for the culture, for the country, for the planet, and it's exactly what we need to carry on working our karmas. So we fit into the system, provide Ishvara with the vasanas which are required for the design of the field of actions that, that can allow us to carry on this game, this play, of acting my karma, my vasanas. I want to play again, and then I provide Ishvara with the vasanas, and Ishvara provides us with our prarabdha karmas in the field, and with the players, and so on. So it is a cyclical mechanism or system. Why don't you know that you are the self? So that's a good question. Why don't we know we are the self and we are free? Because of self-ignorance. Where does this ignorance come from? It comes from Maya, it comes from the causal body, which is also the cause of the subtle and the gross body. So now the existence of the gross body and the subtle bodies is obvious because we experience them. But how do we know there is a causal body? Because as I began saying, we don't really experience directly the causal body. The causal body is the cause, and the mind and the intellect is an effect of that cause. The effect is always denser, it's grosser. The effect can never really objectify and experience directly its cause. Okay, so the only way we can know the causal body is by inference. It's through inference. We know the causal body by tracing its effect to its original cause. So let's follow a certain logic here. It's clear that you are not the creator of your physical body, right? We have no doubt about that. We have a physical body, and we know that we did not create this physical body. Does anybody has a doubt about that? So we are in full agreement about that, huh? Okay. We know that we did not create this physical body. So, and also our mind, which is nothing but a string of thoughts, feelings, emotions, and memories held together by something that we call my memories, my history, okay? I have a history that is a collection of thoughts, feelings, emotions, and memories. And all of that put together, I call my story, okay? My story, and this is what I call my mind, a bundle of thoughts, feelings, emotions that constitute what we call my story. So these thoughts appear to us, and they appear to us on a moment base, and they do so uninvitedly. So we never know what we're going to think in the next moment. So if what I am as a mind is a string of all thoughts and experience that I have through those thoughts and emotions and so on, okay? And if I don't have any control over those thoughts because they appear to me uninvitedly, do I really create my mind? Okay? Do I have any power in creating my mind? So can we think before we think? Can we determine what I'm going to feel in the next 5 minutes? So we have no power in the term, what are we going to think and feel or believe from one day to another, from one year to another, okay? So this is the logic. So we did not create our physical body. We don't create our mind. These thoughts appear to us uninvitedly and unexpectedly most of the time. There is such a thing as deliberated think. But in order to think deliberately, we need a certain education. Otherwise, we are just left to our sense, okay? Our sense organs, they are going to just attach us to the objects, and we're going to respond emotionally, and everything is going to be run by our vasanas. It's just uninvitedly, they are going to push us around, they are going to determine the way we respond to the field on a moment-to-moment basis. So the logic here is that these thoughts also, as well as the physical body, they appear to us uninvitedly and unexpectedly, and they are not deliberated. The proof of being that you never know what you're going to think in the next moment. Have you ever thought about that? Ramji often says, tell me, what are you going to think now in 30 seconds? And then everybody freezes and says, what I'm going to think, what I'm going to think, what? And nobody can figure out when you think you think of something that you had no idea, okay? So we are certain, we are absolutely sure that we did not create the body-mind. We did not create the body, we did not create the mind. Since we are not the creator of the body-mind, of our body or mind, we have to infer that the body and mind, they have an unseen cause. Something must have caused the body and the mind, the subtle body and the physical body. I did not create, you did not create, something has created it. But just in case we think that the self is the cause, because then if we want to skip Maya, Ishvara, the field, and the whole complexity of Karma Yoga and Dharma Yoga, and so on, and then we can say, oh, it's very simple. Consciousness, the self has created the physical body and the subtle body. So then we say that just in case you believe that that's the case, like a lot of these teachings in the direct path suggest, Vedanta comes and says, now wait a moment, there is another factor here, there is another body, which is the cause of the mind and the physical body. So Vedanta comes to introduce the causal body, okay? Like a seed containing the unmanifest potential of a tree, the causal body contains the unmanifest potential for the growth and the subtle body. Exactly. This analogy of the seed is the most brilliant to illustrate this phenomenon. But unlike the seed, the causal body is formless and invisible and cannot be experienced directly. So when we see a seed, very small, its potential to produce a huge 1,000-year-old tree, we can still objectify this cause and say, this seed is the cause. Okay, it's very small. If we break this seed, if we open it, if we grind it to look for the tree, we never find the tree. But yet, we know that this seed, by observation, is going to sprout and in due time become a plant and a huge tree. Okay? So the seed can be seen, can be perceived. Okay? But the causal body is not like a seed in this sense. The tree, we can find the seed and we can look and perceive the seed directly. But the causal body is formless and invisible. It cannot be seen, touched, smelled, and experienced. It's so subtle. It's extremely subtle. We call our mind the subtle body, the mind, the ego, the intellect, the mind with all its functions, we call the subtle body. So it's a very subtle energy, okay? So the physical body is a gross, more dense energy. It grows fast to become what we perceive as physical material matter, an object composed by all these elements. But the causal body, it cannot be seen, it cannot be perceived. It's extremely subtle, okay? But we know that it exists because the physical body and the subtle body has to be caused by something, because there is nothing in existence that appears without a cause, because this is a cause and effect universe. Everything here follows this fundamental law of causality, cause and effect, cause and effect, cause. This is an apparent order of reality. So let's remember, it's all an appearance, but within this order of reality, everything here has its cause. If we find a very, very valuable piece of collection, a watch, those days they used to manually make a watch, and then we have a watch, and this watch is 500 years old or 300 years old, and then we can be sure that this watch is here, and this watch proves the presence or the existence of the watchmaker. Because we know that anything, if we trace it back, we find the cause of whatsoever phenomenal or object we experience. So likewise, our physical body and our subtle body, it must have a cause, but this cause cannot be perceived directly because it's extremely subtle, it's invisible, it's formless. Okay, it's not accessible to our sense organs. Okay? So we can understand the causal body because there is nothing which exists without a cause. And the effects allows us to trace it back and understand the causal body, okay? Although we cannot really experience it. The causal body is a complex and extremely subtle topic, parts of which will be dealt with later in the same text. Later on, the text is going to deal with this when it unfolds the teachings on Maya, okay? So later on, we're going to talk about Maya, and we're going to address the complexity and the subtlety of this topic called the causal body. But for the time being, here are some important things to know about the causal body. So our causal body, each one of us have a causal body. It is ignorance. It's the cause of the appearance of plurality, duality. It's the cause of the primordial subject-object duality. It's the cause of the subtle body. It's the cause of the gross body. It's the cause of the universe. The fundamental tenet of Vedanta is that reality is non-dual. There is only one self, one without a second, and nothing else. But yet, we experience reality as duality, this physical manifest reality, where we experience as diversity, plurality, rather than non-duality. So how can it appear to be multiplicity of things like the subtle body, the physical body, and all other objects? Why? It's due to ignorance or the non-apprehension of the non-dual nature of the self. It's the non-apprehension of the non-dual nature of the self which produces the misapprehension, okay, of this pluralistic world of names, colors, and forms. So the misapprehension of the rope produces the snake. So we all know the metaphor of the rope and the snake. So we have this condition, this situation, this twilight. There is not really darkness, but there is not really daylight. And the traveler is going by, and he searches and he goes into the well. Every town in those days used to have a well, and he goes there. By the time he gets there, he finds the rope, and he finds the bucket, and then next to the bucket, he finds the snake, okay? The snake's just next to the bucket, the water bucket. So he sees that and he freezes with fear. And then after some time, I'm just go quickly through that because I'm sure that all of us know this metaphor very well. So somebody, a wise person goes by. What is a wise person? It's a person who understands the real nature of things, understand, phenomena, understand the real nature of reality. Okay, so this person is going by and sees, and then goes to the guy and say, "Why you are frozen? Why you panic? Why you afraid?" And say, "There is a snake here." And then the wise man says, "No, don't worry. This snake was produced or projected by you, by your mind. It was the misapprehension of the rope has created, and the non-apprehension of the rope has created a misapprehension of the snake." Okay, this is called projection, superimposition. So this non-apprehension of the true nature of reality produces this misapprehension of plurality, of duality. So in other words, due to this misapprehension, these innumerable different forms, colors, and objects are created. And all of that is nothing but formless, limitless consciousness appearing as a diversity of names and forms. Okay. So that's how the causal body is said to be the cause of everything immediate. For instance, say you walk into a jewelry store. This is another nice analogy. We go to a jewelry store, and then we go into a glass counter, and there is dozens or hundreds of gold ornaments, okay, rings and bracelets and earrings and chains and everything. So we look at all of that. But when we look at all these different ornaments, are we really seeing them? Are they really real? Okay? No, they are not really real. If we really want to know the fundamental, essential, substantial nature of all those different forms, we are going to see that there is only gold. Okay? So if you are ignorant of what gold is, if we don't know what gold is, we're going to see only the shapes, the colors, the formats of these objects, we're going to be like, wow, there is such a difference here. There is amazing plurality, diversity. Wow, what is this and what is that? Why? Because we do not know. We are not aware. We don't have the knowledge of gold itself. Okay, so if we don't know what gold is, we will see only plurality of names, shapes, and so on. Yeah? So there is not really reality in all of those different shapes and forms, because fundamentally it's all gold. Now, if we remove the gold, can those ornaments, different names and shapes, which are the ornaments, can they stand alone if we remove the gold? And the moment we remove the gold, there is no ornament. Yeah? But if we remove those shapes, those forms, the names and forms, does that affect the gold? No, the gold remains as gold. We can melt those ornaments and we remain with pure gold. Okay? So the gold is the reality. The gold is the fundamental, substantial essence of all ornaments. But unless we have the knowledge of the gold, we will see only different names and forms, and we are deceived by the appearance of this diversity of names and forms, and we get, as Stephen said in the beginning, we get entangled, we get attracted, we get attached to all these names and forms, and we suffer because its attachment produces dependence. And dependence is not in our very nature. Our nature is freedom. Okay, it's independence. We are that. We are the gold, which is not dependent on any one of those ornaments, and all ornaments depend on the gold. So when the gold is known to us, then every ornament is seen only as gold. So this is what it means to understand the cause of everything. The causal body is the cause of everything in Maya. Maya operates through the causal body, this macrocosm and microcosm body, and it produces again and again the new jiva. It produces again and again a new universe. Okay, is the fundamental cause of the universe. But there is also another level, as we know, which is the self. The self is the fundamental nature of Maya, Ishvara, and the projection of the universe. Yeah? When we are ignorant of the self, and then we'll be caught up with the physical world, the mental world, and even the causal world. The causal body, this universe, it can be enjoyed as great peace and limitlessness or bliss. Okay. But we don't want to be caught up and attached to any one of those three realms or orders of reality. The self is the only fundamental, free, independent principle. Yeah? The same way, likewise, when the self is known, when the self is known, and then I'm not the three bodies. We have been working through the description, the understanding, the definitions of these three bodies, because our goal is just to eliminate the self from these three bodies. Our goal is not to really become an expert of the three bodies, because our goal is just to separate, to isolate reality from no-reality, the self from the apparent self. So the whole purpose here is just to understand these three bodies so that we can discriminate the self. The self is that which is independently free of three bodies and so on. Okay, let me see what else we can look here. So when the self is known to be the only reality, and then the three bodies are also known to be only the self. Okay, but the purpose here is to understand, or to understand to a certain extent, to a degree, the cause of the subtle and the physical body. So the cause of the physical, the subtle and the physical body is Maya, is the causal body. So this subject, this topic is going to be discussed later on in the session about Maya, as we said before. So, but before we move into Maya, there is something we can think about as we continue our study in this text. If ignorance, not you, is the cause of the body-mind and its thoughts, so we have determined that I don't create my body, I don't create my thoughts, I don't create my emotions. There is something that operates on a moment-to-moment basis and keeps producing all these phenomena, all these thoughts, producing my body and everybody's and so on. So if ignorance, not me, is the creator, is the cause of the body-mind and the thoughts, emotions, and all the words and so on, is the sense of responsibility for the body and mind is and does as well the sorrow that results from the sense of responsibility really justified? So let me repeat it. The moment that we understand that I did not create my body, I did not create my mind, I don't have much of any control. This is all within the jurisdiction of Ishvara. Ishvara is the one who controls all of this, creates and maintains and recycles and governs. Yeah? We are all being done. So if we understand that, so is the sense of being the doer of my action, the thinker of my thought, the originator of my feelings, this sense of doership, of being responsible for my body and the constitution of my mind and the body and so on, is this really justifiable? So can we really justify this? No? The fact that, and the sorrow, and when we feel frustrated, when we believe that we are responsible for our body, mind, and we are the doers, and so on, we feel this incredible sorrow and frustration because we think that I can really control my future, I can control my Prarabdha karma, I can manipulate the field so that I can really get only the results that I really like, I really want, So is it really justifiable? No, it's total ignorance to get all agitated about trying to control the field, trying to control my karma, trying to control my destiny, okay? So we don't have much of a responsibility because all of that responds to Ishvara. But as we have determined in some other aspect, in some other passage, in our studies, we also have a certain responsibility because our responsibility is every time we are called to respond to the field, to respond to the life circumstance as Ishvara presents it to us, we have a certain power, we have a certain this power to decide, to choose how to respond to a certain situation. Now, what to say, what to do, whether to do or not to do, okay? So every moment we have a certain power to choose and to what course of action and so on. So we have a certain responsibility insofar as we are called to respond on a moment-to-moment basis to the field of actions. And if we don't exercise this responsibly and intelligently, and then there is not much room for our spiritual growth, for the development of wisdom, and so on. So Maya, causal body, is beginningless ignorance. So first of all, ignorance is synonymous of the causal body, and the causal body is the cause of the mind and the body. But since the causal body is the cause of everything, it does not have a cause. So in that regard, it is beginningless, or more precise, it is causeless. This is an important point. When we say that Maya, or the causal body, is beginningless, it means to say that it's not caused by anything. It's a causeless principle or phenomenon. Okay, it exists without a beginning. It exists before time or beyond time. Okay, time is something that comes into a place after Maya, yeah, operates. Once Maya operates, and then time, space, and the creation comes into place. So, but this causal body is beginningless, means to say it's beyond time, you know? And it does not have a cause. That's why it is causeless and beginningless. You know? So, if Maya, Ishvara, are beginningless, what it says about us, it means to say that the jiva as well is beginningless. Jivas are integral parts of Ishvara. Maya brings about this intelligent principle called Ishvara. Ishvara keeps governing and producing jivas and sustaining the jivas and creating the field for the jivas to interact and work their karmas. So the jivas as well, we are beginningless. So the whole shebang is beginningless. Jiva, Jagata, Jiva, Ishvara, and Maya, the causal body, is all without a cause. The causal body causes the subtle and the physical, but the causal body is causeless. The second thing to say about this causal body or this ignorance is that this ignorance has a beginning, means that it had a prior non-existence. But how can something that does not exist, like the son of a woman who cannot bear children, ever come into existence? It is not possible. So ignorance must have always existed. So the second thing is this aspect of Maya that we call ignorance. Okay, it's beginningless as well. It does not have a beginning. Exists prior. It had a to say that ignorance has a beginning. It means that it had a prior non-existence and then it began to exist. Ignorance was not existing before. Now it exists. But how can something who does not exist come into exist as ignorant, like the son of a woman who cannot bear children? It's something that did not exist and can never come into exist. Okay, it's not possible. So ignorance must always have existed. That's the logic. Ignorance is beginningless, and ignorance can only be ended, although beginningless, as we have determined. Besides, if ignorance had a prior, this is all logical, that is going to support the fact that Maya and the causal body are beginningless. If ignorance had a prior non-existence, that later on it came into existence, what would have been there in its place? So before ignorance came into existence. So if it had a beginning, it had to have a prior non-existence. So what would be there before ignorance? It would be knowledge. And if knowledge was already present before, ignorance would never come to exist, right? So ignorance cannot come out of knowledge. Therefore, for all these reasons, ignorance has to be beginningless. These are all analysis and logic to support the notion that the knowledge, understanding that ignorance has no beginning. Anything we don't know, can we say that it had a beginning? If we say, like I say, I don't have any knowledge about astrology. This is my ignorance, for example. I have no knowledge about astrology. Can I say, like, oh yes, I know exactly when my ignorance about astrology began? Can we say that? No. So ignorance has. If I don't know astrology, it means that I'm beginningless, ignorant about astrology. It cannot have a beginning, unless, of course, I had the knowledge about astrology, and then my mind got damaged by any of these illness, and I developed maybe a certain disease that I lose my memory, I lose all my knowledge, and so on. And then I can say, okay, I got sick, I got ill, and I developed a certain condition, and then I lost my knowledge. Okay, I know my ignorance about about astrology is beginningless. So it does not have a beginning. If it had a beginning, it means I had the knowledge before and then I lost my knowledge. No, ignorance has no beginning. It is indefinable. So we do not need to know why and where ignorance began and where it came from. We only need to know what it is. We only need to know what is ignorance so that we can have it removed. So if we have ignorance about certain things like astrology, like in this example, this ignorance that I have in reference to astrology does not cause me any suffering, because I understand that there is only so much one can know. The universe, is vast, is created by pure knowledge. Vishwara knows everything. It's the all-knowing. But the jiva, they know very little. Some people, they have obsession for knowledge, and then they try to know as many things as they want to know. But regardless, the more they know, the more they become aware of how ignorant they are, because they only push a little bit, the front, how you say, the line, I forgot the word, I'm a little bit off today. So the more we know...
Frontier.
Yeah, the frontiers of ignorance, I just move a little bit, but I become aware of more and more ignorance. So we see this in this field of science, medical science, that we have all these specialists. They start learning more and more about less and less, and then come to a point that somebody studies for 20, 30 years the skin. The dermatologists, they know everything about the skin, but have you ever thought how superficial the skin is? How can you have a deep knowledge about skin? Skin is so shallow. But anyhow, the more we know about something, the less we know about other things, because as you go into exploring knowledge about phenomena objects, we're going to say, oh my God, there is so much more to know, so much more. So therefore, I have to renounce trying to know the rest of the physical body, because it's impossible to know. So the knowledge about astrology does not affect my happiness, because I understood that there is only so much one can know. And I also understood that knowledge is not going to resolve this feeling of inadequacy and insufficiency and incompletion of the jiva. Some jivas, they try to resolve this problem by experience, by gaining objects of experience, okay? Enjoying objects of experience. Some other people, they like objects of knowledge. They read books and they study, they have several degrees, but yet the sense of incompletion, of smallness, of inadequacy, and so on, all this psychological complex and so on, they don't go. They remain feeling small, incomplete, and limited, and so on. So I know that. So therefore, my ignorance in regards to astrology does not make me any misery or sorrow. No, I have no sorrow. I have no suffering due to that. Yeah? So it's beginningless, and it's there. It does not affect me. Yeah? But there is a knowledge of something that can resolve this problem of the jiva. No? And we know that ignorance is beginningless in reference to the real nature of reality. Ignorance is beginningless in reference to the real nature of the I, the jiva atma, the nature of the jiva self. Okay? But we know, and the scriptures present this knowledge to us, that the only knowledge that is going to really resolve this, this problem of the jiva is the knowledge in reference to its true, real, fundamental, free nature, identity nature as pure, limitless consciousness. So this is the knowledge that puts an end to the need, to the craving for all other knowledge. It's the knowledge by knowing that, knowing which, everything is known. Not that you're going to know everything, but you know the nature of everything, because everything is but the self. So we do not need to know why and when this beginningless ignorance in reference to our true nature began. We need to understand only that this ignorance is the fundamental cause of sorrow and all our troubles, our psychological affliction, anxiety, fears, and desires, and so on. So it's all due to this fundamental ignorance, okay? This fundamental causal body aspect we call Maya, we call avidya in reference to the jiva, and it's knowledge ignorance, or it's the conscious human consciousness or your mind, one's mind. So it is this ignorance is the root cause of everything, and this is what we need to know. We need to know what ignorance is and how to remove, and this is the purpose of Vedanta. Okay. So this ignorance is indefinable. Indefinable in this case is synonymous of mithya. It's indefinable because it's neither truly real or truly unreal. Neither truly existent nor truly non-existent. Mithya is that which is, but it is not. The only way we can really understand and make peace with this manifest universe of diversity and plurality and duality and so on, and the pair of opposites of pleasures and pains and ups and downs and so on, the only way we can really live in peace with that is by understanding that it's not real, okay? Because more than that, we can never really extract enough knowledge that could make us really satisfied and in peace with this mithya, this apparent universe that changes from moment to moment, giving us no possibility to really control and find balance and stability, and so that we can enjoy favorable circumstances and situations on a daily basis. So we need to understand the irreality of mithya. Therefore, ignorance is mithya. And this is good news because anything that is mithya is not permanent. Okay? Ignorance is mithya. It's good news because anything that's mithya is changing from a moment to moment. It's not permanent. So even though ignorance has no beginning, it comes to an end. So self-ignorance can only be removed individually and, of course, by self-knowledge alone. Okay? So we have covered that. Since the causal body contains the potential objects, and this potential is undifferentiated and unmanifest, the causal body is said to be free of forms and divisions. So cause and effect, but is the causal body the absolute cause of the subtle and the physical worlds? Not really, because in mithya there is no such a thing as absolute cause and absolute effect. We kind of covered that already. But this is an interesting point, because the causal body, the very name says it's called causal body because it causes the other body. But in mithya there is not really an absolutely cause and an absolute effect, because what is cause now becomes an effect looking from a different perspective, okay? So when we provide Ishvara with our karma, our agam karma, our response to the field, so this moment that we respond to the field, it seems to be an effect, effect of my previous vasanas. My vasanas are going to create my prarabdha karma, and then my prarabdha karma is going to compel me to respond. So when I respond, when I'm in that moment of responding to the stimuli coming from the field, it seems that I'm receiving the results of my previous karmas. I'm enjoying the effects, of certain causes. The cause is the causal body, the body of the vasanas, and my sanchita karmas, and so on, that manifests as my life circumstances that requires a response. So when I respond, it seems that this is an effect, but at the same time, I'm being a cause, because I'm causing, I'm impacting the causal body. I'm impacting, I'm modifying, I'm contributing, to a certain modification on my causal body. So even our response, the response that we do when we exercise our free will, ability to choose and respond, it can also be seen as a cause, because it's going to cause a certain modification in my vasana load. I'm going to respond either governed by those vasanas, respond mechanically, automatically, just reinforcing the previous vasanas, or I'm going to respond with a clear intent of changing my vasana load, impacting or suggesting a certain modification, developing new tendencies, new habits, developing certain attitudes. So we have this free will that allows us not to be a victim of our causal body, but also be the cause, so to speak, of the causal body. So we're going to supply Shwara with a response which belong to a different field, a different based in knowledge, based in the Vedic knowledge, understanding of these laws of the universe, controlling our experience, plus the knowledge of the true nature of the self, and so on. So we agree that the causal body causes the subtle and causes the physical. So the causal and the physical are its effects, but the interesting fact is that the subtle and the physical also become the cause of the causal body. The causal body becomes an effect. Maya is a cyclical, self-reinforcing system. This is something we can explore maybe some other moments or in a Q&A. So I think that's enough for the causal body. Next Sunday, we would begin with the 5 koshas, the 5 sheets. And does anybody have anything, any question, any complaints?
Well, you're saying that ignorance has no beginning, and that at the same time it can be removed. I'm just finding, does ignorance rest in mithya, and knowledge is part of mithya as well? Like,
yeah.
In Vedanta, and then at the end, Vedanta, you can the knowledge applied, you can throw away knowledge and ignorance.
Yeah.
Where I'm going with this, but you said ignorance has no beginning. How can it have no beginning if it has no end? If it has an end, because you said it also has an end.
Yeah, that's the interesting thing. That's why it's so unique, because everything in the manifest, but this because Maya, or the causal body, is not born in time. Time comes out of Maya, causal body, macrocosm and the microcosm. The time comes in spring.
Right.
course, from Maya. So everything that's created in time, it has a beginning and an end. It has a birth and a death. You know, the stars and the universe has a beginning and an end, and so on. But Maya is beginningless, means to say is beyond time. Okay, so
Maya.
Maya is referred to ignorance. Okay, the fundamental ignorance. That it's referred to ignorance because it makes the impossible possible. It makes the self, which is non-dual, to appear in duality, in multiplicity, in diversity, and so on. So that's the thing.
So what you're saying is the term Maya and ignorance are the same. Is
Yes, Maya is referred to as a power that produces duality out of non-duality. And it's also referred as the greatest trickist, okay? For somehow it tricks all the jivas to believe that reality is duality, to believe that the reality is all the gold names and forms, the ornaments of gold. The people do not understand all is gold, for example. So the jivas cannot see that all is just the light of consciousness shining, okay, and projecting this mirage of names and forms. So Maya is the producer of this trick, of this ignorance. So it's referred as ignorance because it causes non-duality to appear as duality. But Maya produced also Ishvara, and Ishvara is pure knowledge, pure intelligence, it's all knowing. So the whole manifest, although is a product of ignorance, of Maya, it's created, sustained by pure knowledge and intelligence. So Ishvara is pure intelligence, pure knowledge, and the whole universe is created, maintained, and recycled on a daily, moment-to-moment basis by these intelligent laws of the universe of Ishvara, you know. So Ishvara is pure intelligence, pure knowledge. Maya is the original, fundamental principle that causes this appearance, you know, amnesia. I mean, as if consciousness would becomes tricked by Maya and finds itself living in duality, and not only, and assumes to be the living creatures, the jivas, and jivas suffer of this other aspect of Maya that we call avidya, that is the inability to really understand what's going on, and inability to understand that all is just gold, and gold is free of all names and forms, you know. That is another aspect that we call avidya, which refers to the human jivas.
But so basically, if I may reiterate, you're saying Maya and ignorance are synonymous terms. It's
Yeah.
like Maya being Sanskrit. So you could just say it's the word Maya is ignorance
Yeah,
in a very general kind of way.
Yeah, Ramji has a nice way to say it. It calls Maya the beautiful, intelligent ignorance. Okay, it's beautiful. It's magnificent. It's so wonderful. It's so attractive. It's so seducing. Okay, we love this universe. We love this planet. We love all these beings. So we love the world. And it's beautiful and it's intelligent. It's constructed. It's assembled by pure knowledge and intelligence, and it's sustained, maintained by all these intelligent laws. So it's beautiful, it's attractive, it's intelligent, and then in the end, Ramji says, and it's ignorance. It's fundamental. It's his ignorance. It's that which deceives us to believe that reality is duality.
Okay, thank you for that explanation.
Okay. We have no doubt that we are ignorant about several different fields of knowledge. I was mentioning the example. I know nothing about astrology, for example. So we all have a lot of ignorance in reference to different fields of knowledge. This ignorance had never began somewhere. I never say it began, it had a beginning. No, I mean, the same way in the macrocosmic level, ignorance is beginningless, because if it had a beginning, and then it means that before the beginning, the only thing that could be there would be knowledge. And ignorance cannot come out of knowledge. This is an impossibility, logical impossibility. Therefore, ignorance, the same way my ignorance about astrology has no beginning, the ignorance called Maya has no beginning. It's a power that, inherent to consciousness. It has no beginning. It's beyond time. Consciousness is beyond time, and this power called Maya, the macrocosmic causal body, is also meaningless.
So, but what you're saying with the application of the knowledge of Vedanta, the ignorance can be removed and therefore put to an end. But that's in regards to, say, the understanding of self or existence.
Yeah.
So I'm just thinking, like, how can something have a beginning? If there's a beginning, then there's always an end. So you're saying it has no beginning, but it has to have an end.
Yeah.
Is that the case of in the case of the phenomena of knowledge and ignorance in the self?
Yeah. Yeah, that's why the ignorance can only come to an end individually. It only by the means of one's own effort. One's own contemplation, one's own karma, one's own merit. Punyas. So only individually this ignorance can be removed, and this ignorance can be removed once for all. Only in reference to the true nature of the self, of the I, of reality. So this is something, the I is something that every human jiva experiences. We all know that there is an I, and we don't know what is this I. We believe that the I is the body, is the mind, and so on, So this fundamental ignorance in regards to this I is a very individual phenomenon called avidya. And this beginningless macrocosmic ignorance has no end and will never have end. Okay, it's eternal. So it's going to be producing universe after universe, jivas after jivas, ishwaras after ishwaras, jagats after jagats. So the universe is going to continue coming out of the unmanifest into the manifest. And the universe is composed by Maya, Jiva, and Shwara, Jiva, and the field, Jagat. Okay, that has no end. This is a collective, a universal phenomenon that does not come to end. It can only come to end individually, the avidya, on a personal level, because the jiva, although beginningless, it lives in time, and it can put an end to its individual ignorance by understanding its own true, fundamental, free, independent nature as pure, limitless consciousness. So that's why there is no this whole talk about having the entire planet raising consciousness, and then everybody gets enlightened. This is all fantasy, This ignorance in reference to the nature of reality can only be resolved individually by one's own effort. Okay? That's why I'd say it's a strange kind of phenomenon, because it has no beginning, but it can come to an end. So the whole play in Gita, Bhagavad Gita, is Arjuna with his sword trying to deceive this beginningless ignorance called Duryodhana, represented by Duryodhana, as this aspect of ourselves, which is greed, and it's it's just much to extract, and only me, and the unfair This ignorance is it has an end, you know, and the end is only possible by the means of the knowledge that Krishna was conveying to Arjuna.
So you can say consciousness has no beginning and no end.
Consciousness is beyond time, yeah.
Yeah, beyond time.
Yeah.
But ignorance has a beginning but no end. So,
no, the ignorance is beginningless but has end. From the standpoint of the jiva, from the standpoint of the individual, it has end, but only from the standpoint of the individual. Avidya has an end. But the universal phenomenon called Maya, this power that turns non-duality into duality, has no beginning and it has no end either.
Maybe can you explain avidya for me? I'm still not that familiar with all the Sanskrit terms.
Avidya is the impact of this appearance of plurality and diversities of names and forms. All this plurality of shapes, colors, and forms and names that we call this universe composed by all these parts, this appearance, you know, it makes the individual jiva to misapprehend the essential, substantial nature of everything as only consciousness. The same way that we miss to apprehend the fact that in all ornaments of gold, the real, true, fundamental, free, substantial nature, reality of every one of those shapes and forms is only gold. Okay, but if we don't have knowledge about the essential nature of all those ornaments, if we don't have the knowledge about gold, we're going to see diversity, difference in the names and different shapes and properties and qualities and attributes. We see this world, this universe of names, forms, colored by all these different gunas and powers and energies and so on. So we are tricked to believe that this universe is pluralistic by nature, you know, and we tricked to believe that I am the physical body, and so on. We don't understand that the body is the primordial, the number one object that appeared before me, and I develop a relationship with the physical body. And I develop dependence and attachment to the body and so on. So this is avidya. Avidya is this misapprehension of the nature of this I that comes again and again in my mind. I this, I that, I am this, I am that, I feel like this, I am fat, I am old, I am young, I am cold, I am beautiful, I'm ugly, I'm clever, I'm stupid. This I, to understand that this I is like a non-stick pen, nothing stick. There is no attribute, no qualities, or no nothing. It's free from everything, you know. The mind has qualities and attributes, but the I, the self, consciousness is free. So avidya is this human condition of being hypnotized by this beautiful, colorful universe of names and forms projected by Maya. Believe that it's real and believe that I have to gain things and avoid things to secure, you know, my satisfaction, my comfort, my peace, and so on. I want to manipulate the field so that I can live happily. This is called avidya, and this can be ended, can be removed by understanding the nature of everything is gold alone. The nature of all beings is only pure limitless consciousness, and I am that. Understand the video?
Okay, thanks.
All right. Okay, everybody, I will see you next Sunday. I hope I'm gonna be feeling better. And I say, to everyone. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vachishate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Thank you, Lord. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Sorry I was late.
Not a problem. Okay. See you next Sunday.
Yeah, thank you kindly very much.
Bye-bye.